Welcome to the English learning community. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode. Today, we're diving into something truly special. A story that's not just going to improve your listening and writing skills, but also inspire you to take your English to the next level. Grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and let's get started. Have you ever been in a situation where someone was speaking and you just couldn't catch everything they said? Or maybe you were trying to write something, an email, a message, or even a story, but the words just wouldn't come to you. Trust me, we've all been there. But here's the good news. Today's episode is designed to help you overcome those challenges. We're going to explore real-life stories and examples that show you exactly how English is used in everyday conversations. These stories are packed with practical vocabulary, natural sentence structures, and tips that will boost your confidence and fluency. By the end of this episode, you'll not only understand English better, but also feel more comfortable using it in your own life. But before we dive into the story, I want to ask you a few questions. These are meant to get you thinking and set the stage for what's coming next. As you listen to today's episode, keep these questions in mind. 1. Have you ever felt nervous about speaking English because you were afraid of making mistakes? 2. What's one situation where you struggled to understand someone speaking English? 3. When you write in English, do you sometimes feel like you're missing the right words? These questions are more than just food for thought. They're the foundation of what we're about to explore. The story you're going to hear today is all about overcoming fear, embracing mistakes, and finding the courage to keep going. It's about real people, real challenges, and real growth. And trust me, by the end of it, you'll feel inspired to take on your own English learning journey with a fresh perspective. Are you ready? Let's jump into today's story and discover how mistakes can actually be magic in disguise. Let's go. From hesitation to fluency. Practical tips for English learners. The hesitant beginner. In a bustling city in South Korea, there lived a young woman named Ji-yeon. Ji-yeon was smart, hardworking, and had a big dream. She wanted to work for an international company, but there was one problem. She was hesitant to speak English. Every time she tried, her mind would flood with thoughts like, what if I say the wrong word? What if people don't understand me? What if I sound silly? Because of this, Ji-yeon would often stay silent, even when she had something important to say. She felt like her hesitation was a wall between her and her dreams. A missed opportunity. One day, Ji-yeon's company announced a team project with an international client. The project required fluent English communication, and Ji-yeon's manager asked her to join the team. Ji-yeon felt excited, but nervous. She thought, this is my chance to prove myself. But during the first meeting with the client, Ji-yeon froze. The client, a friendly man named Mr. Johnson, asked her, Ji-yeon, what do you think about this idea? Ji-yeon's mind went blank. She thought, should I agree or disagree? What if I use the wrong grammar? What if they laugh at me? After a long pause, Ji-yeon mumbled, I think it's good. The team moved on, and Ji-yeon felt a deep sense of regret. She thought, I could have shared my ideas. I could have contributed. Why am I so hesitant? The breaking point. That night, Ji-yeon couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the meeting and her missed opportunity. She felt like her hesitation was holding her back. She whispered to herself, if I don't change, I'll never achieve my dreams. The next morning, Ji-yeon decided to take action. She remembered her friend Min-ji, who had become fluent in English. She called Min-ji and said, I need your help. I want to stop hesitating and start speaking English confidently. Min-ji smiled and said, Ji-yeon, the first step is to stop overthinking. Just speak. Mistakes are part of the process. First step, Ji-yeon decided to take Minji's advice. She made a plan. Speak first, think later. She told herself, I won't worry about grammar or pronunciation. I'll just speak and enjoy the conversation. At work, Ji-yeon started small. During a team meeting, she raised her hand and said, I have an idea. Her voice was shaky, but she continued, we can use social media to reach more customers. The team listened and nodded. Her manager smiled and said, That's a great idea, Ji-yeon. Let's discuss it further. Ji-yeon felt a rush of happiness. She had done it. She had spoken up in English. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Life lesson, Ji-yeon learned that hesitation is the enemy of progress. The more you hesitate, the harder it becomes to speak. But when you let go of fear and just talk, the words flow naturally. Building confidence. After her first small step, Ji-yeon felt a tiny spark of confidence. She realized that speaking English wasn't as scary as she thought. But she also knew she had a long way to go. She decided to take Minji's advice and keep taking small steps. The next day, Ji-yeon decided to practice speaking English with her colleagues. She approached Mr. Kim, a friendly co-worker who was fluent in English, and said, Can I practice English with you? Mr. Kim smiled and said, Of course, Ji-yeon. Let's start with small conversations. They began talking about simple topics like the weather, food, and weekend plans. Ji-yeon made a few mistakes, but Mr. Kim didn't correct her. Instead, he encouraged her to keep talking. Ji-yeon realized that people don't care about small mistakes. They care about your effort and willingness to communicate. A funny moment. A few days later, Ji-yeon had a funny moment that made her laugh at herself. She was talking to Mr. Kim about her favorite Korean dish, bibimbap, but instead of saying bibimbap, she said bibimbap. Mr. Kim laughed and said, Bibimbap? Is that a new dish? Ji-yeon's face turned red, but she laughed too. She said, No, I mean bibimbap. It's a mix of rice, vegetables, and meat. Mr. Kim smiled and said, It sounds delicious. I'll have to try it. This funny moment taught Ji-yeon that mistakes can be funny and that people are usually understanding. It's all about having a good attitude. The first big challenge. One day, Ji-yeon's manager announced that the company was hosting an international conference. Employees from different countries would attend, and Ji-yeon was asked to give a short presentation in English. Ji-yeon felt nervous. She thought, what if I forget my words? What if people don't understand me? But then she remembered Minji's words. Speak first, think later. She decided to take the challenge. Preparing for the presentation, Ji-yeon spent the next few days preparing. She wrote down her presentation, practiced in front of the mirror, and even recorded herself on her phone. But no matter how much she practiced, she still felt nervous. The night before the conference, Ji-yeon called Minji. She said, I'm so nervous. What if I mess up? Minji said, Ji-yeon, everyone gets nervous. Just focus on your message, not your mistakes. People want to hear what you have to say. Those words gave Ji-yeon the courage to trust herself. She decided to go into the presentation with an open mind and a positive attitude. The presentation the next day, Ji-yeon stood in front of the audience. Her hands were sweaty and her heart was racing. She took a deep breath and started speaking. At first, her voice was shaky, but as she continued, she began to relax. She talked about her team's project, the challenges they faced, and the solutions they came up with. She made a few mistakes, but she didn't let them bother her. She just kept talking. When she finished, the audience clapped. Ji-yeon felt a deep sense of pride. She had faced her fear and done her best. A life lesson. After the presentation, Ji-yeon learned that confidence comes from action, not from thinking. The more you speak, the more confident you become. She also learned that mistakes are part of the learning process. Every mistake was a step toward improvement. Difficult words broken down, won confidence. Believing in yourself and your abilities. Example, Ji-yeon gained confidence after her presentation. Second presentation, a talk or speech given to an audience. Example, Ji-yeon gave a presentation at the conference. Third challenge, something difficult that requires effort to overcome. Example, the conference was a big challenge for Ji-yeon. 4. Mistakes, errors, or things you do wrong. Example, Ji-yeon learned that mistakes are part of learning. 5. Progress, improvement over time. Example, Ji-yeon made progress in her English speaking skills. A turning point. After her successful presentation, Ji-yeon felt a new sense of confidence. She realized that speaking English wasn't about perfection, it was about connection, but she also knew that her journey wasn't over. She wanted to keep improving and face bigger challenges. One day, Ji-yeon's manager called her into his office. He said, "Ji-yeon, we've been impressed with your progress. We'd like you to lead a new project with our international team. You'll be working closely with colleagues from the US, the UK, and Australia." Ji-yeon felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Leading an international team, what if she couldn't communicate effectively? What if they didn't understand her? But then she remembered Minji's words, "Speak first, think later." She took a deep breath and said, "I'd love to do it." The first meeting. The first meeting with the international team was scheduled for the next day. Ji-yeon prepared by reviewing the project details and practicing key phrases. But no matter how much she prepared, she still felt nervous. When the meeting began, Ji-yeon introduced herself and the project. Her voice was shaky at first, but as she continued, she began to relax. She made a few mistakes, but her colleagues didn't seem to mind. They were more interested in her ideas and enthusiasm. One of her colleagues, Sarah from the US, said, "Ji-yeon, I love your energy. Let's work together to make this project a success." Ji-yeon felt a warm sense of belonging. He realized that people appreciate your effort and passion, not your perfection. A funny moment. During the meeting, Ji-yeon had a funny moment that made everyone laugh. She wanted to say, "Let's schedule the next meeting for next week." But instead, she said, "Let's schedule the next meeting for next week." Sarah laughed and said, "Next week? I hope we're not feeling weak by then." Ji-yeon's face turned red, but she laughed too. She said, "Sorry, I mean next week." The team laughed and said, "No problem, Ji-yeon. We understood you." This funny moment reminded Ji-yeon that mistakes can be funny and that people are usually understanding. It's all about having a good attitude. A heartwarming moment. As the project progressed, Ji-yeon became more confident. She led meetings, shared ideas, and even cracked jokes in English. Her colleagues respected her leadership and admired her determination. One day, Sarah said to her, "Ji-yeon, you've come so far. I remember when you were hesitant to speak, and now you're leading the team. You're an inspiration." Ji-yeon felt touched. She said, "Thank you, Sarah. That means a lot to me." Surprise twist. A few weeks later, Ji-yeon received an email from the company's CEO. He wrote, "Dear Ji-yeon, I've heard great things about your leadership on the international project. We'd like to offer you a promotion to Global Project Manager. Congratulations." Ji-yeon couldn't believe it. She had gone from being a hesitant beginner to a confident leader. The final scene. The day of the promotion announcement arrived. Ji-yeon stood in front of her colleagues, feeling nervous but excited. She said, "When I first started, I was afraid to speak English. I thought my mistakes would define me, but I learned that mistakes are just part of the journey. The more you speak, the more you learn, and the more you connect with people, the more you grow. She paused and smiled. So, my advice to you is this: speak first, think later. Don't let fear hold you back. The world is waiting for you to share your story. Life lesson Jion learned that success is not about being perfect, it's about trying your best. She also learned that every small step you take brings you closer to your dreams. Practical tips for English learners: 1. Speak first, think later. Don't overthink. Just start speaking, and the words will flow. 2. Embrace mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning. Laugh at them and keep going. 3. Practice daily. Even 10 minutes of speaking practice every day can make a big difference. 4. Find a language partner. Practice with a friend or colleague who can encourage you. 5. Celebrate small wins. Every step forward is progress. Celebrate your achievements, no matter how small. If you enjoyed today's story and found it helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We've got so many more inspiring stories, practical tips, and fun lessons coming your way to help you master English and boost your confidence. And hey, if you're feeling extra motivated, leave a comment below and tell us what's one mistake you've made while learning English, and what did you learn from it? We'd love to hear your stories and cheer you on. Thank you so much for joining us today. Remember, every step you take is progress, and we're here to support you every step of the way. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep believing in yourself. You've got this.